العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Is my voice clear?
Yes, it is very clear.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah, as you said, I mean, I thank you, all of you, the people in this forum, and I ask Allah to guide us and also make what we're gonna say that it would touch our heart and to be part of our good deed in the day of judgment. And I also thank you, like the forum, for inviting me to speak about that such important topic about Islamic finance, which is unfortunately unknown to many Muslims because but we all do Islamic finance in some ways, but even without realizing it, because when a subject or a topic become like scientific or become like not mainstream, people will do it without knowing about anyway. But as a Muslim, we cannot live without Islamic finance and such, because we cannot. It's part of Islamic belief and it's part of Islam. But I will just have a disclaimer. If I'm saying too much terminology, just stop me and ask me, because sometimes like you just get used to some terminology, just use them knowing that I'm expecting that many people will understand those terminologies. But I will try to make it as simple as possible, and like many people, for many people to access it or to understand what I'm going to say. Like when you look at the topic, we call is Islamic finance, Islamic financial system, which is like combined with three words, which is Islamic, financial, and system. And if you look at the first two parts, which is Islamic finance, will come there. And Islamic finance is combined with two words, which is Islamic and finance, which is Islam and finance. I mean, to put it in a simple way, it's just a way, because Islam, we know Islam is a submission, the total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's Islam. And finance is, okay, mainstream, we don't know how we do, we deal with our money. We come like finance, economy, money, any of those issues, financial issue, call it just finance, will come there. I don't want to go to like technical definition of it, but as we understand as common people, like what is finance is how you just, when it asks someone, how is your finance, how you deal with your finances, your money matter, the wealth, like investment, finance, consumption, all this part of of your finances. And the way the Muslim should deal with this, it should be part of our belief, because we know like our life belong to Allah, and we have to conduct our life in the way Allah wants us to conduct. As Muslim, the total submission to God. And Islam is part of that big system. And I think it will be beneficial to just try to illustrate on the big picture, because sometimes it's like we go to the details and we just understand. We just forgot the big detail. The big pictures about anything we're doing as Muslim. If Islamic finance is part of that big belief, which is Islam, it's become part of Islam. I think it's very good to establish some, basics and background and try to understand the big picture where Islamic finance just is part of it. When you see in that big picture of Islam, when we deal with everything we do, when Islamic finance, what is the benefit of Islamic finance and the importance of Islamic finance, as part of that belief system, which is Islam. The first of all is you have Islamic finance. We just described Islam is total submission to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have finance, which is the money matter. The system is anything of like procedure and principle, which just guides something, like to have an end object. You just have achieved something, like the way you just try to achieve that, the principle, the values, the procedure to achieve that, because it's called a system. You have like public education system and all this stuff. We have a system. And Islamic finance have a system. We have a system in Islam which deals with our financial matters. But from there, let's start from that big topic, which is the big picture, which is Islam in first time. We call Islam, we call it Sharia sometimes, and this is we call Islamic law, which is when you are used interchangeably. Islamic finance or the Sharia comes to two things: to attract good thing to humankind, or just like to all the creation. It's not just like humankind, but let's put it like humankind, and maximize it. That one. The second thing is just to prevent any harm or evil or bad from the humankind and minimize it, because sometimes you cannot just prevent the bad, but you will try to minimize it as much as possible, or as little as possible. You try to minimize it in that way. Islam, the Sharia, come to these two things. And when we talk about the benefit or the good thing, it's not just here. I mean, it's here and hereafter. Jannah is part of that. Have a good life when you just, conduct the way Allah wants. Have a good life here and hereafter, the peace of mind. This is part of the Sharia. And the more you are close to Allah, the more you are close to Sharia, the more peaceful you will be and the better your life will be. Regardless, because how we, it's sometimes subjective, how we see life, the good life, the happiness, how we see it, but it's subjective. But sometimes when you just come closer to Allah, you just realize that feeling and that peace of mind. And if that where Sharia come, many scholars just say that Sharia come to achieve 5 big objectives, which are: the first is the religion, and the religion in sight of Allah is Islam. To protect Islam, that's one of the objectives of Sharia. The second is life. The third is intellect. The fourth is lineage or progeny, and the fifth is property or wealth. And whenever scholar has said, whenever you look at any of these, of the principle Sharia and the values of Sharia, the action in Sharia, most of them will just end up protecting one of these things. Protection doesn't mean just only protect them, because you can protect something. Yeah, that's the minimum level of anything. But you also have to enhance it, to empower it. When it comes to religion, you have to protect. That's why Allah does not like disbelief. We call it kufr, disbelief, because it's against the religion of Islam. That's why it's prevent. It's forbidden. You cannot be, you have to be a Muslim. Based on our traditional value and how we see Islam, because it cannot go against Islam. Anything which will just put you against Islam, to just put you outside the Islam will prevent it. Starting with shirk, which is the biggest sin, or the biggest sin, and coming to anything which is lead you to there. Islam will prevent you from doing this or that. Anything will just lead to something which will break, make you become non-Muslim. And the second will be the life, preventing life and protect the life. It's just, we say protection, but at the same is enhancement, which whatever who can enhance your life or enhance your religion, Islam will recommend it. Whatever can harm your life, Islam will prevent it. It's two things. And the same in life. That's why you cannot kill someone. So why I can't kill someone? Because you can't kill it. Because Islam come to prevent that. You cannot kill someone. And anything leading to that, Islam will try to just prevent it. Except if it's the way Islam recommended, which is qisas. When you can't kill someone, you just you murder someone intentionally and you get murdered. That's something else. But normally you cannot take someone's life. And whatever will just lead to that procedure, Islam will prevent it. Anything even the rules, the regulation, and on the road will be part of that. The hospitals are part of that to prevent that. The death and killing, all this stuff, we just prevent it, except in some narrow ways, which is jihad is part of it, because the scholars will talk about this. Which is more important? We just know is religion is more important. Can be depend on the situation. You cannot generalize it. But sometimes religion become more important than life itself. And that's why you go to a battlefield. When you go, you can get killed, but you just still go. Why you don't prevent your life by not going? No, you prevent Sharia, which is deen, can be sometimes bigger than your life itself. And sometimes your money may be bigger than even your life. You just try to defend, to protect your wealth, and you just get killed because of that. All this because it's very tricky, but trying to start with that bigger picture, to understand. And the third thing is intellect. And whatever can enhance the intellect level, to empower it, Islam recommends it, starting with knowledge, which is the first thing it commands in Islam. The first ayah is not pray, is read. Because that to protect your intellect, to empower it to see things Allah wants you to see, because Allah has created the universe. Also create your mind to understand that universe, why that universe has you created for. And anything which will just harm your intellectual life, Islam will prevent it, starting with drug, alcohol, and anything. That's why cigarettes will be the same haram. You cannot see any sincere scholar will tell you that cigarette is halal. No, because we know it's harmful. It's not for intellect, it's for your life, for the body. We know it's harmful. Whatever it's harmful, even eating too much, if you know, like let's say, the doctor tell you, like, if you just eat sugar, it will kill you. It become haram for you to eat sugar. People say, no, it's halal, it's not halal for you. Because what is halal, what is haram will based on your circumstance and your situation. And the fifth is lineage. Lineage means because, the process of reproduction in Islam has to be regulated and protected. That way, the only way you can just have the for procreation should be through marriage in Islam. And some narrow case, like when the slavery used to be, like slavery, and that's in there. But it's through marriage. And that because to protect, because when someone comes into life, someone has to be responsible for that person. And to have that responsibility, you have to have an agreement before having that responsibility, the agreement which is marriage, first of all. And the fifth thing, which is our topic, which is the property or wealth, to protect property and wealth. Islam, that part of the big objective. They call it 5 big objectives of Sharia. And that Islamic finance comes under that thing. That fifth part, which is the protection and the protection of wealth and property. And now we will ask ourselves, what is money? We call it property. And Islamic side, how Islam define money, anything which is beneficial to humankind is regarded as a money. Because for current people, when you say money, we look at pound and dollars, and it's not only the money we have. These are called currencies. If you go to scientific terminology, you just call pound it's part of money because it's beneficial, but the special name is currency. We call this is a currency. That's why we see cryptocurrency and all this is a currency. But it's part of money. Anything beneficial to humankind is regarded as money in Islam. But there's something which is harmful. Islam does not look at money. Or there is some use of that. Islam will not regard it as a money. You take the problem like alcohol. It's forbidden in Islam, therefore it's not money. Even it can be beneficial in some way. If you are using it for something, maybe money, and that thing, like if you are using alcohol, like for being medical in some strict way, like for medical purpose, and that you can sell it because it's been used for that. But when you use it, to drink, to just drink or to just affect your intellect life, it's not money on that side. Pork is the same thing. Anything which is forbidden in Islam is not regarded as money, even if we just benefit from it. Cigarette, alcohol, this only thing like we'll look how Islamic finance see and the pornography thing, and anything which is forbidden in Islam is not regarded as money. Therefore, you cannot trade it. You cannot own it because it's not money. It's forbidden for you to own it and or to trade it. That's why I will come to some of the characteristics of Islamic finance. We'll see that there, and that's that big rules, and we just have to understand about Islamic finance. Because it's better, like we can just go start with banks, what banks do. But when it comes to Islam, it's this because it's part of a belief. We have to establish that belief level, because that is where Islamic finance differ from other, the mainstream finance, I'll call it conventional finance. We think, okay, it's just like bank. No, it's just about how we look at money, how we deal with money, how to believe about money. We start from there, which is more important than the procedure. A bank is a procedure to make money. Maybe 5,000 years ago, there wasn't a bank here. The beginning of Islam, there wasn't any bank. But the financial, the way you transact this, because this procedure may change with life. Now we just look at SaaS and how we deal with it is different. We deal with money is not the same. You just have a tip of your finger, you have your bank, all the transaction done. Now we have bank as a SaaS, like software as a service. And all of this thing is procedure. This is something else, but you have to call about the cow. But when you, we just don't talk about the values and the core thing, why you do, how we look at the money, how money is part of his Muslim life, how we look at. When you miss that point, and we just focus on the procedures to say, okay, how banks should operate. Yes, that's fine. But why? What is money in the first place? Why should we, do with our money? Why Islam look at money in the first place? Why we should look for money? Why we should find money? Why we should work for money? All this topic, when we just miss that big point, is very, very easy to get distressed, to just go like sideways. But that's why I'm trying to establish that big thing. Money is whatever is useful for humankind. It's also is defined. Whatever is forbidden in Islam is not money. Regardless of how valuable it is not money. Islam don't look at it as money. That fair thing. And now we call like Islamic finance. It's part of that big thing which is called Islamic economy because it's different. Some people call it halal economy in order to avoid that Islamic thing because like, yeah, it's like this world becomes something else now. But it's called halal economy. Sometimes you call it Islamic economy, which is a bigger, it's not only about, because the economy, people are familiar with the topic, the economy is just the definition to know how we produce and what to produce, how to produce it, and for who to produce. These three big questions is answered by economy. I mean, the creation of wealth and value and all these things you can under economy, and they call Islamic economy. What should we produce? How we should produce it? And all these come in that segment of like in that submission to God. What is good and what is bad? And when you look at that, like what to produce? In Islamic economy, we cannot produce alcohol. We cannot have any non-Islamic financial institution. We cannot have any institution which deal with riba. Shouldn't be there. We cannot have any, I mean, things like, okay, anything with pornography, anything with gambling industry shouldn't exist in Islamic, the bigger economy. That is utopic what we're talking about, because we won't find that Islamic economy in any way. And I don't know any country in the world which have Islamic economy. It doesn't exist. We have like something, okay, I know even Muslim just it's even difficult to be a single, like a very 100% Muslim. It's very difficult. Let's not talk about a country, a whole. It's difficult, which is now it's become utopic in this time. But Islamic economy is deal with whatever in the society. If something is haram, it shouldn't exist. But country will have different societies, and country will have different, even within economy, like society will have different values. And some say, okay, this is, I mean, you have some in Muslim country where you cannot sell alcohol, like that exists, like in Saudi Arabia used to be, and Mauritania, I know, you cannot sell alcohol. You can do it, like how to do it, but you cannot see like this is where you can find alcohol there. And some people will even prevent any non-financial, I mean, the riba thing, like riba is not interest, we call it not interest. Interest is part of riba, but riba is bigger than interest itself. I mean, like in Bangladesh, no, in Pakistan, I know that, in Sudan also, I mean, this is from the parliament, when there shouldn't be any non-Islamic financial institution there. It's forbidden by, the people, by the law. We cannot have those type. People have different degree of that. And even in Iran, yeah, I know that these are three countries. I know why. I mean, you cannot allow to. People may do it, but legally you cannot do it. This is the bigger topic of Islamic economy. We look at the economic as a whole. Whatever is forbidden, it cannot be produced and it cannot be traded. Because in Islam, one of the big rules, they say in Sharia, مَا لَا يَجُوزُ بَيْعُهُ لَا يَجُوزُ إِنْتَاجُهُ, which means what is forbidden to trade is forbidden to produce. You cannot produce what you cannot sell. And the second, مَا لَا يَجُوزُ تَدَاوُلُهُ لَا يَجُوزُ بَيْعُهُ, what you cannot buy, you cannot sell it. Because Islam just look at just one side, look at both sides. To say, okay, you say in society, even when Islam makes something forbidden, we think that it's become forbidden because, like, yeah, you shouldn't, but is this real level of making a prohibition in Islam? When Islam says what something is forbidden, is prohibited, is not an individual level, is in societal level. That shouldn't exist in the first place. That where you see, like we are now, because we are in a community where you are individualized Muslims. We do most Islam as individual, but not as a society. Because that where Islam should be, that the utopic thing, which now people are afraid of. We talk about Islamic politics or something, or all this stuff. Because what differ, like the prayer we are doing, maybe it was the same prayers, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ used to do at the same time. But now when you come, what's the difference? If you know, okay, let's have that example. Someone who want to commit adultery in the Sahaba, like in the time of the companion, are you gonna find someone to do that thing with? It was very, very difficult. Yeah, we know there are some few cases, but it was very, very difficult. If you're gonna do riba, who are you gonna do riba with? If you're gonna sell alcohol, who's gonna buy alcohol from you? Because the society say you cannot produce alcohol here in the first place. That because people say, okay, we are in a liberal liberal world, like you can do whatever you want. Islam doesn't think like that because people, we know we are very weak. That's why there's something Islam just tell you not to go there. It's not don't do it. No, not to go there because you are human being. You have biology. You don't know how those things interact. You sometimes cannot control them. The best way to not do it is just prevent to not be there in the first place. That's why it was just reading a report about people who do not, take drug. They say they found it, people who do not, the study was about in the US, say people who do not, do never use drug in the first place is simply people who just decide not to take drug. It's very, you see like, this is very obvious, it's not. Because if you decide not to do it, you will not do it. But if you are indecisive, you don't know what to do, sometimes you will do it. That's why Islam says, no, if Islam says something is forbidden, it shouldn't be there in the first place. We shouldn't be producing alcohol in the first place. And the Islamic economy thing is a topic, but let's try to have that, just try to describe that. We see, and the time of the companion and our time, alcohol wasn't produced in the first place. To buy it, someone has to produce it. The society, no, you cannot produce that because it's not money. You shouldn't be producing the thing here. And all this stuff, gambling industry, pornography, and all this stuff shouldn't be produced in the first place. That's the maximum level. Islam just is looking into to make the society forbid what Allah has forbidden. It's not for individual, it's collective level. When you don't have that, that's why Islam just judge you based on where you are in your society and the circumstances. The second level, it shouldn't, let's say you are in society, say, okay, yes, we can sell alcohol or you can sell cigarette. The second level is we shouldn't have someone who will sell that thing in the first place. It shouldn't be produced in the first place. If it is produced, but we cannot control that, the process of production, you cannot, you cannot control that. When it's produced, there shouldn't be any Muslim selling that thing. That's the second level. And the third level, even if it's sold, there shouldn't be no one who will go and buy it. That's the individual level now. Because you say, okay, I cannot control the production of something which is forbidden in Islam, that's fine. It's not, but let's take it that way. Okay, you are not, I will not sell it. Okay, that's fine. But you cannot prevent other people from selling it, except if the law and like the collective level will say, okay, you cannot sell it. But you don't have to buy it. That is on you. And collective level, if you fail to do that at the collective level, that we call fard kifaya in Sharia. They call fard ayn and fard kifaya, which is something which is obligatory in the collective level and something which is obligatory in the individual level. If you cannot do that in the collective level, but you still are responsible for your individual level, but collectively you are just responsible for that. It's not that collective level we just drop it, it will stay there. We have to achieve that level. But if you can, that individual level should be there. When you just do not what, so I shouldn't do that, you don't do it. We know it's tempting when you have something in front of you, just have to decide. It's easier not to have it in the first place. But if you have it, it becomes more tempting. That's why the Prophet ﷺ says, one time will come. When those people, like the work of one of them is bigger than the work of one of you. Like company says, okay, is that a work from one of us or a work of one of them? It's process. No, it's a work from one of you. Because why? They say the Prophet ﷺ just, say that because of that is they will they will not find people who will support them to do the good thing. It's not the people, it is the system, the structure, the society level, where it becomes difficult to do a good thing and easy to do the bad thing because it's everywhere. That's the difference. And the Prophet says the same things. Allah say, what will come? Like holding to your religion will be like holding a fire. Because it's easy not to do something when you can't say it. It's not around you. You don't interact with it. But when you interact with it, you see it every time. It's tempting. It's difficult to avoid. That was the difference between our society and the society of the companion, to do some comparison. And Islamic finance comes to the same level there. And the individual level, that will say, okay, but now you're responsible. When if it's sold, you are responsible not to go and buy it. That's your responsibility. If you do that, that is on you. It's not on society. Society will have their share, but that's your share. And when you just understand that when Islamic finance come from, like less Islamic economy, and the production, the organization of the economic life in any society should come under that submission to God. We shouldn't be producing what Allah doesn't want. We shouldn't be like selling what Allah doesn't want. We shouldn't be buying what Allah doesn't want. This is what we should look at. That, the utopic level, the ideal level. And Islamic finance will come under the same thing. If we say riba is haram, we shouldn't have, in the first place, that the society and the Islamic economy shouldn't have any institution which will do riba in the first place. If it's there, okay, you cannot prevent it because the law maybe allows it. Okay, in the first place, you as a Muslim shouldn't be interacting with that thing. You shouldn't be part of that system in the first, in the second place. If you become a part of it, if like maybe you're in a society which is like we have Muslim and non-Muslim, okay, no problem. Even some Muslim will do it. But in the third level, you as an individual shouldn't be interacting with that. Except in some minimum level, like Islam should require necessity. Like you should, and now we cannot live without having it difficult to live without a bank account. That's something. But you shouldn't be interacting with something which will be against your religion. That's the belief. When you have that belief, things become clear. You know why, okay, I have to do, because people say, why I have to go in the first place. Muslims say, why I have to go like to get finance in the Islamic bank and not in a conventional bank. This is why. Because we come to characteristic of Islam now. When it comes to characteristic of Islamic finance, the first thing we know about Islamic finance is that money belongs to God. That's the first characteristic. We all read in Quran all the time, Lillahi ma fi samawati wa ma fi al-ard. Everything in the heaven and in the earth belongs to Allah. Yes? That belonging, if you not know as a Muslim, I know whatever I have here, your money, your wealth, your children, yourself, everything belongs to Allah. That's the first thing any Muslim have to just look at, to have that belief. Whatever I have is not belong to me. I'm an agent for some time. I'm responsible for that thing, and I will be questioned about that responsibility. That's the first thing. Money or wealth, property, anything belongs to Allah. That's the first characteristic. And from there, if something doesn't belong to you, belong to someone else, you are an agent or responsible for that. Who should instruct you to do whatever you have to do with that thing? It's not you. You are instruction taker, not giver. An example, you have your money. You just give it to your kid. Or to say, okay, go to the corner shop here, buy a chocolate or buy a drink, okay, and have it. I didn't give you the money. I just tell you, no, just go and sell that and buy that drink and just have it. The child just go and just buy a chocolate and come back. You say, why did you? Okay, no, I just have like, it's better to have a chocolate. I say, no, I told you to buy like a drink, not a chocolate. Okay, you may accept it, but you know, like, okay, that child, what he has done is just disobey you. Because it's not your money, it's my money. And you should do what I told you to do with that money. If you're looking at that, okay, you get angrily, yes, and your children, or your children say, okay, no money, I give you money, get your children, okay, go and buy a water. And they just bring, the box of chocolate to you. To, okay, mommy, yeah, I got like very good chocolate. You'd say, what? Just return it back. I told you to buy water. Yes, that's the same thing. The money belongs to Allah, and you have to take instruction as Allah says, okay, this money is not for you, it's mine. I put it in your hand. Because sometimes we just like to say, this money belongs to me. This is my money. Yes, it's your money. You are the agent. You are responsible for it. But it's for so few time. It's just for a limited period of time. And you'll be responsible for that. Because no one will say, okay, because sometimes, we just, mistake about, okay, the way you get that money. Okay, what I just put it that way. You think that the money you have is from your effort. Yeah, your effort is part of the equation, but it's not all the equation. Because we know as Muslim, the money, your risk, the provision, and the provision is not from you. You have to work. Yeah, you cannot, just lay down, just sleep and have it. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you can't. You know you have to go after those causes to just know how to make money. You just go, you do that. And by making that, you know, because your life is belong to Allah. We all do that. قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my prayer and my slaughtering and my life and my death belong to Allah. Your life belongs to Allah. And part of that is how you make money. If you do, okay, now the money is in your hand. You cannot say that your money you have, you deserve all of it. If you say you deserve it, yeah, why? Because maybe you say, okay, I have this degree. I really work hard to have that degree. Okay, good. Let's ask you that question. Do everyone in the world have the same degree as you have the same opportunity, have the same words? That's the question. No. If your degree was the determining factor and you having the wealth, the amount of wealth you have now, or the salary you have now, everyone in the world should have the same thing because the degree was a determining factor. But isn't. It's part of it. The same thing, if I just take that example, let's say we have two Uber drivers, two people who just Uber driver. We gave them, they have the same amount of, the same years of experience, let's say 10 years. They also have the same car, the same identical. They look the same, let's say like they're twin, yeah? And also they have everything, like they maybe dress the same way. Let's have tried to just object and just take everything which a difference. They are the same and identical way. And they work the 10 hours a day. They start from the same point at the same time and finish at the same time. Can anyone guarantee that they will have the same amount of money at the end of the day? No. Why not? If they have the same car, they look the same, they have the same experience, the same professionalism, the same degree, everything was the same, why they don't end up with the same amount of money at the end of the day? Because that work is part of the equation, it's not the whole equation. There's some part of it you cannot control, which come from Allah. And you have nothing with that. When you have that one, you are an agent. And you have to just do based on the instruction of the principle, or they say principle and agent in the management theory. You have to be instructed to do what a principle tells you to do. And our principle in that case is Allah. You have that money, the way you spend that money, the way you make that money, you just deal with that money, you invest that money, you finance whatever you do should be based on that principle. But you are free to do whatever you want, but you will be questioned. That's a big part of it. And now money belongs to Allah. You should do some, based on that, this instruction of that principles. And now, because, okay, let's say, if you just ask all the human beings to say, let's try have a rule for money, okay? Because, okay, I know, like David Hume will say that the veil of ignorance. That's what I don't want to go to that, but let's take that. Say, have a rule for how we should deal with money. You have people now. Most of the time, you will be biased. Why you will be biased? If you are a poor, you will try to have a law or a regulation which will be on your benefit. If you are like a wealthy man in that gathering or that committee, as human being, you'll try to protect your wealth. And most of the time, the regulation and rule will be biased toward you because you are the rule maker. Why I have to put a rule? In our country, like in Africa, they say the mosquito cannot produce anything which will kill him. Yeah, you cannot. If you are clever, you cannot produce something which will kill you. You have to protect yourself in the first place. Because Islamic finance, the second characteristic of Islamic finance is divine, which is come from Allah. Allah doesn't care about you and your wealth. Everything belongs to Him. That way we just ensure the fairness come in Islamic finance. Because it's not from like this, the wealthy or the poor. It's from Allah, who doesn't care who doesn't need your money, don't want your money. The money, everything belongs to him. And when you know that instruction comes from Allah, it will be the fair one because it's not biased toward this or that. Allah says, if you're poor or you are wealthy, Allah is the same in the sight of Allah. Allah doesn't care about your wealth or your poverty. No, it's just about that fairness thing, which it does count. And we know that that's one of the characteristics of Islamic finance. Money belongs to Allah. We should, interact and act based on the instruction of the principle, which is who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third, this is where we ensure the fairness. Because if you look, people who are just familiar with Islamic, with global financial system, we will know how biased it is. Because it's based on interest. And in Islam, we know that Allah has declared war against three things. The first, if on riba. The second, the people who harm the wali, the people of Allah. And the third is about shirk. Why those Allah just had declared war about these three things? Because each of them are war against someone. The interest is a war of the wealthy against the poor. That's why Allah also has declared a war against them. The second, when you just hate the people of Allah, people who try to be just, to reform the world, to do the good deed, and you hate those people, you are against them because you are just declaring war against reform, against goodness. That's why Allah just declared a war against you. Allah says, "Man adha li waliyan, faqad adantu bil harb." Whoever who just harm or become evil, even the people who Allah loves, the people of Allah, Allah have declared a war against you. And who can sustain against a war against Allah? And the third is about shirk, because it's a war against Tawheed, which is the unicity of Allah. That's why. And the three things, and part of it is that declared interest, because it's a war against poor. People doesn't know. But when you look at this, the global financial system, you will see how biased it is. That's what making all this, the inequality, we can just try to just attack the consequences, but we can never attack the roots. Why you don't attack the root? We do know where it comes from. But I don't want to go to starting big of it. You cannot finish it in just one day. Just go deeper and deeper, see what is, let's try to start with the basics, and we see where the problem comes from. You will see very clear and loud. We'll just go through the financial crash, which happened, in 2008. How was against Islam? We see how it happened, how it started, and who get affected. Because at the end of the day, who will make the rules? Those and the rich people will make the rules. Against who? You are not in the table. You're not part of the table. You just put something which is protected more and give them more words. Because it's human, is not from Allah. You cannot ensure fairness. We say fairness, but at the end, is that the fairness? When you got into this COVID, where people were sleeping at home, no production, and the wealthy become more wealthier and wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Defining just doing speculation in financial market and become wealthier. Can we say that that's a word? A fairness. And from there, that's try to have that. There are many characteristics of Islamic finance, but this is the main thing, a core belief to understand that. When you study that big picture, now you come into the financial system in Islam. The financial system, or Islamic financial system, we have three types of system. Because we know as a society, we cannot, we just focus on sometimes on mutual agreement or the contract. When you just you buy something and you sell something. But in Islam, we have three main things, which is we have some unilateral, obligatory transaction. We have unilateral, optional transaction. And you have mutual-based transaction, which in mutual-based, you give something and you take something. And you will see, as a society, we need all of these things, which is the unilateral, obligatory, unilateral based, transaction, and with that will come zakat. Because it's something you give away is one way, you don't take anything back. Yeah, you'll have reward, but there's nothing physical coming to you. It's not like when you buy and sell, it's different. That should be part of the financial system. Even when we don't focus on that, but when you talk about financial system, we look at, the bargain based, the mutual based, the mutual, which is mutual based. You give something, you take something. And that's part of it. And for that, we have zakat and zakat al-fitr, which is just one unilateral, is one way, you just give it out. You don't expect anything from, except reward from Allah, but nothing physical comes. Because we need that as a society. Whatever we just establish system, we will have some people who we have to help, regardless of what they do. Needy people, people with with disease, people with health issue, with sickness, all this. Sometimes someone have to take care of them, and this is part. The zakat come into that part. Whenever we have a good society, we have people who society as a collective level, it's become obligatory upon us to take care of them. Sometimes we don't have that. We say, okay, why all this, even you say universal credit thing, and also in the UK, so okay, this is part of Islamic? It has been there, but because now we're declining, we don't have any society which fully experience, just practice Islam. That's why we just see anything from someone, we like it, we love it, but you don't have it. It's part of Islam. If you know the religion, you know Islam, that's part of it. The zakat is an obligation. If you don't give it, you will get, we know it's part of the pillar of Islam. Why it become a pillar? Because as a society, the first you have shahada. Second, you have, which is salat, which is between you and Allah. The third is saum, and the fourth is zakat. You have to give that zakat. You don't have a choice. You have to give it out to the needy. As a society, collective level, if you say, okay, this is my money, I work hard for it, I work for it, yes, that's true. But in the end, some people in society, you have to help them through zakat, which is give to 8 people, as we know in the ayat in Tawbah. And Allah said, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. When you say the sadaqat, the zakat, is for poor and needy, and sadaqat for all masakin, والعاملين عليها, and people who work in the agent of zakat. And mu'allaf al-qulubum is the people who mu'allaf is people who don't have a strong heart against it, toward Islam. There can be non-Muslim people who we can just soften their heart by giving them something, or the people who just revert to Islam but they don't have that strong belief. You can just give them money. People will call bribe, but this is part of people who deserve the zakat. Riqab is someone who is a slave. He wants to just emancipate himself from his free. You can give money to just go and buy himself from his master. And people who are indebted in society. Even if someone gets indebted, the society, you see the beauty of Islam. As a collective level, we have the obligation to help him to just to give him money to just go and pay that debt. This is part of people who deserve the zakat. What part of people? 8 people, you cannot go more than that. But this is not from anyone, it's from Allah. And people who are in the side of Allah, in the way try to help Islam. It can be a battlefield that some scholar will just extend it to anyone who just help in the way, help the deen of Allah. And people who are the traveler. The traveler, regardless, if you are, let's say someone is very rich in his country, is a billionaire, and he's come to the UK here or anywhere, when he's stuck, he doesn't have money. He deserves to give zakat to just, the amount of money we'll need to just reach his home or where he's going. We deserve zakat. That's the part is unilateral, but it's a collective level. And the second zakat fit is the same, but it's a special day. Everyone should be happy in that day. And there's some other unilateral optional level, which is sadaqah. It's charity will come there. You just give it out, but it's not obligatory. You can do it or you cannot do it. Waqf should be part of that. Waqf is when they call it endowment. When you just have to say, you just have something which is lasting resources, will just last, but the benefit, the use effect will go to the sake of Allah, for the needy, for the poor, for a masjid or anything. Because that waqf is different. Because zakat, when you give it out all. But a waqf is you fix the property or the asset, and the usufruct or the benefit from that asset will go to, to help someone, like the needy, the widow, and like build school and anything, like any, collective infrastructure or to help the society or the community. That's part of that. I think they call it waqf. And I would just hear one of the biggest, work expert is in the Islamic Development Bank when I was just doing my internship there. Just said, even in the time Islam reached a level, it's not human. We need waqf. Waqf was like, it's like a major thing. Everywhere have a waqf. Even the waqf in the Muslim world is huge. Even the waqf given to the Haramain, the big mosque in Makkah and Medina, is billions and billions. They're trying to collect it now from any part. People used to give that money, due to finance scholars, and it's just huge when you look at that. The civilization, and that's a waqf expert. Just saw this from Algeria. I just forgot his name. Because it's like 5 years ago. He said there was a time when it's not people who need some work for everywhere. There was a donkey who just go to collect. The donkey will just go to collect. Wood to just for the fire to keep the masjid warm. There was some work for that donkey, not for people. That donkey used to have work for himself, to just take care of that donkey, to give him food, and to just cure it. Everything was done for him, just from the work. Some people give work for that donkey, not human being. And that's, that, because it's big, because that's because the third sector, the NGOs will come into that sector. Or say the big NGO in the world, yes. In Islam, we come into that sector, which is work and sadaqat. And the third part, which is unilateral, mutual obligation now, which is like selling will come, the contract for work will come from there. And all this part is well regulated in Islam. If we are in a society, sometimes we do not know. But whenever, because the way you just seek your money, you look for money, you find money, you just pay regulated and based on the instruction of Allah. Because at the end of the day, you are responsible. And if you don't know, if you don't do it the way Allah wants, you are for sure harming someone. If you become an agent, which is like in a process of just producing alcohol or selling it, distributing. That's why you see that the Prophet ﷺ has cursed, 10 people in alcohol. The one who produce it, transport it, sell it, everything, even the chain, the commandment, all are cursed. Because you are part of it. It's like a chain. Once something is broken, it doesn't work. If you're part of that, the same thing is a riba institution. Anything which is haram, try to distance yourself from it. Because you may say, okay, I'm a good Muslim, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, that's fine. But you are just doing something, the way you are looking for money, you are harming the society by doing that. And you're responsible for that. The society shouldn't allow you to do it. But if you're allowed to do it as a Muslim, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for yourself. The way you look money to feed your family, the way you just transact that money, because that money belongs to Allah. The way it should be transferred and acquired should be based on the instruction of Allah. Okay, you can do the transactions this way. You can't do it that way. You have to do it this way. It can't be done that way. And you forgot the unilateral obligation. Part of it is heritage. Yeah, heritage is part of that. I just believe that. Forget that. Third example. Now we have unilateral obligatory, which is zakat. And we have zakat. We have zarakatul fitr. Okay, and the third is also heritage, because this is unilateral. It comes from someone or someone passed away. Because it's obligation. No one, because that one of the thing no one have a say. Yeah, Allah just say everything about the heritage, because we know the matter of money is not that easy. We know in this world, but that it has been decided by Allah. No one can say anything about it. It's all declared. Which part of which part? That because the money matter is very, very regulated in Islam. The way you acquire money is regulated. The way you have to give money is regulated. Because this is part of the society. Allah says, وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفْهَاءَ أَمْوَالَكُمُ الَّتِي جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ قِيَامًا. Do not give your money to fool people. The money which Allah has made, this is the pillar of the life. The sustain of life. What the life is sustained on the wealth of money, not your currency, but money. because we have to have that benefit. And all this belongs to Allah. Because it belongs to Allah, Allah has a say to say how you can transfer that money, how you deserve that money, how the money should be distributed. And when because we know that it's from Allah, it will assure the fairness we need and assure the prosperity, because based on that fairness, which is no one be biased toward even the poor or the rich, it's divine based. And whenever we just try to be closer to the Sharia or to the law of Allah, the better a society will become. But it's not easy, and it's never going to be easy. I will stop here, and there are many things we can do. I just try to start with that baseline, because we cannot finish in one day. And that baseline, and we go to like Islamic Bank, how they do it, the size of it. That's this stick here is not that tough thing. It's just a core belief. Why you do what you do. That was